right? So these are the components of testing, right? So test planning, all that, right? So whenever we want to perform any testing, these are the components we have to be focused. One is about scope, schedule, resource allocation, environment, tools, followed by defect management, risk management, exit parameters. All these has to be taken into consideration. Now, the next point we need to know about how to create test planning, because what are the steps to be taken into consideration to create a test plan? Okay. Steps to follow while creating a test plan, right? So whenever we are going to create test planning, what are the steps to be taken into consideration? This is what we have to know. The first one about product or a project analysis, because there is a line of difference, because last time also I told you difference between product to project. Product means we are developing. So according to the market requirements, expectations, needs, demands, all that, we are developing a product. But when it comes to the project and all, according to the requirement of the particular customer, we are developing, right? So this is not something exclusively we are developing for all the people, right? So only for exclusive customer we are doing. This is what we call it as project or service. But whereas when it comes to product means we are developing a product. This is something relating for the particular people who are in that particular domain. Let's say we are developing a point of sale system as a product. That product can be used by any retailers. Right? So it need not be specified for one retailer, because whatever the functionalities, whatever the features we will be mentioning in point of sale system remains common for all the testing, all the retail store owners, whoever is performing the activity, because those are all comes under the one domain. Company may differ, but the area of business, the activities of the business, whatever they do remains constant, right? So features and functionalities and all, everything will be same, but depends on the kind of business rules, depends on the kind of government mandates and all. If you want to make any changes to the existing product configurations and all, everything may vary from time to time, right? It will not be the same all the time, right? So this is where generally we have to see. This is where generally product or project analysis come into picture. The next is about designing test strategy. The second one about designing the test strategy means if you want to prepare a test plan, it's always important for us to design the test strategy. What must be the test strategy that we have to be designed, right? So strategy of implementing testing, because that roadmap is required, right? So building out the roadmap is essentially required. So hence designing the test strategy is one of the core and important element. The next is about defining objectives. What must be the objectives that has to be defined here. Next, we have to establish test criteria. Right. So what is the testing criteria we have to, because if you want to do the testing and all, is there any criteria we follow? If there is any criteria we need to follow and all, what must be the criteria, right? So this is where generally establishing the test criteria will be including in it. Next, planning resource allocation, right? So how much resource we require, again, depends on the kind of model are we choosing and all, everything will be varied. Next, planning setup of test environment, right? So planning the setup of test environment means how this has test environment can be hardware and software environment. I can write it. I mean hardware and software, right? So all these things are comes under operating system, right? So database. All these things are comes under the test environment part. Next one, we need to determine test schedule and estimations. Okay, this is also required. Yeah. So determine the test schedule as well as the estimation. This is also one of the key element. Last but not least, we need to establish the test deliverables. Right. So these are the steps which we have to be taken into consideration whenever we are going to create test planning. So if you want to perform any test planning, especially in reference to the test planning itself is concerned, it's always important for us to follow these steps whenever we are creating the test plan. First of all, we must give a glimpse over product and project analysis that is required. Next, we need to go for designing test strategy. What must be the test strategy that has to be mentioned there? So which is a roadmap, I can say. Next, defining objectives. Testing objectives has to be defined. Once the testing objectives be met, exit parameters are relating to that. I have explained that earlier. Next, establish test criteria. What must be the criteria to do the testing, right? So that we have to be decided. Next, planning resource allocation, right? So how much resource required depends on the type of model of application development we follow. Either it can be waterfall, it can be agile, etc. Next, planning setup of test environment, right? What kind of setup test environment is required? Either it can be hardware, it can be software, all that. Next, we need to determine the test schedule and estimations, right? What must be the test schedule and estimations? That also should be known to us well in advance. Next, we have to establish the test deliverables. What must be the test deliverables? That even we have to be known with. So these are the steps which are involved when we are creating the test planning. So this is all about the steps which are involved in reference to the test planning. So product analysis, designing the test strategy, right? So all these things are comes under this activity. So if you want to do this, right? So what aspects to be covered? So in reference to the detail part, right? So detail part, I'm going to explain because again, when we talk about criteria and all that, exit criteria are all everything are related. So that I'm going to discuss these things in tomorrow session. If you have any questions, please go ahead. Any questions? Right. So this is all about this session today. The detailed part we'll discuss in tomorrow session. This is all about today. See you. Bye.